Hello and welcome to another episode of WVU Extension Today. I'm your host, Zach Harold. We're going to begin today's episode with a trip to Harper's Ferry and Reddington's Farm and Orchard. Co-owner and operator Quintina Reddington is going to talk to us about their orchard, their cut-your-own Christmas tree operation, some of the challenges they faced getting started, and their hopes for the future.
We moved in November of 2017 after purchasing the property. My husband had always wanted to own more property. I always equate us to, that old book, City Mouse, Country Mouse. He's the country mouse and I was the city mouse. So I took on a huge challenge and we moved here with the goal of eventually opening a cidery or distillery. So I knew nothing about apple orchards or the number of apples there were, different types of varieties. It was kind of like jumping into the deep end of the pool. The property here, it was run historically by Mr. Greiner back in the 80s, and before that, he had a full-blown, very, very successful agritourism business where he had the hay rides and the pumpkin patch, and at one point there were 10,000 Christmas trees on the property. When we bought it, there were not 10,000 Christmas trees. There were very, very few. And some of the apple trees had to be pulled. So we had a lot of renovating to do and refurbishing of the orchard and the Christmas trees. So we started to put a plan together. What are we gonna do first? We knew eventually we wanted to do a cidery distillery, but we have so much work to do first. I think the first thing we did was start with the Christmas trees because they take longer to grow. So we planted about 800 to 1,000 Christmas trees. Figured we'd plant a little bit each year, more as we grew, and identifying really what we didn't know. We knew we didn't know a lot. I started doing research. I just started reading books and getting online and going to the Extension Service, and I got to know the Extension Service agents, and then I just started reaching out for information. We had a challenge when we first moved in with a lot of the trees, all of the leaves just shriveling up and dying. I said, hey, I don't know what's going on. It's pretty distinct. Half my orchard is dead and dying. I don't know what it is. They came out.
Being a new orchard, she reached out when they got started, and we went over some things about her goals with the business. We got her on my local mail list, which keeps her up to date on local programs that we might have. She alluded that she keeps in touch with some of the things that we might put out that are timely, as far as like weed management or even things like our IPM programs. She's sought a pesticide license, so she seeks continuing education credit to keep up that license. And sometimes when she just has specific questions, she doesn't really hesitate to reach out. She planted all these trees and then she called me in a panic. She's like, we planted about 800 new trees and we didn't realize it was a cicada year. So we got her some recommendations on sprays if that's the route she decided to go, but more, we got her the recommendation on like how to protect the trees too to minimize the damage, just to really impact their bottom line.
I would love to see this place as a spot where people who live in the Panhandle could come and just relax, sit by the fire pit, have s'mores, taste some cider or some bourbon, gin, apple brandy, blackberry brandy that we'll be making here on site from products that are grown on site, where groups can come and have an event if they like. And then tourists can come and actually see what it's like to be in West Virginia. It's beautiful and it's peaceful, and those are the two words that everybody says as soon as they get out of their car. They stand up and they look around and they say, wow, this is so beautiful, it's so peaceful. That's what I'm hoping for.
Before you head out to Reddington's to cut this year's tree, let's check in with Extension Forest Resources Specialist Dave McGill. He's going to tell us how to pick a good tree and how to care for it properly throughout the holiday season.
When you're out selecting a tree, you're usually at a choose and cut operation or down at a lot where someone has brought in trees. And so when you go through, obviously the first one is it going to look nice, right? Is it a nice shape? Does it have any holes in it? Besides that, other attributes to look for in a tree is it fresh? One way you can test for that is just go up to the tree and grab it and pull on the needles. If it feels fresh and a bunch of needles don't come off in your hand, it's probably pretty fresh. Once you get the tree home, and if you want to slice it again, I always do that, just to make sure it's a fresh cut. Stand it up in your stand, make sure it's real stable. You also want to make sure you water it every day. That's the critical thing. Sometimes you let it come out a little bit, let the branches come out, and then you decorate it. And really when you're decorating it, that's a real time to think about safety, because you're going to put the electrical lights on it. Another thing about tree safety is kind of where you position it in the first place, right? You don't want to put it by heaters. Definitely you don't want to put them too close to a fire source, an open flame like a stove or open fireplace, so that it doesn't dry out and make it, leaves fall off early or be a fire hazard.
Of course, holiday decor is more than just about trees. We had some folks stop by to give us some tips on decking the halls safely.
So it may be fun to watch Clark Griswold put up lights, watching them fall over, get into shenanigans. However, there are a lot more inherent dangers that you should be aware of this holiday season. The thing about ladders is if you mess it up, the risk and the injury you're gonna have is gonna be very bad. So the first thing you wanna do is pick the correct ladder for the job. Reason being is if you have an A-frame ladder, it might be too short. You might need to get to a higher elevation, and then you don't want to be standing on that top level or that second to last step, because those are actually not intended to be weight bearing. The other big one is you don't want to lean an A-frame ladder up against the side of a building. It's going to kick out, it's going to fall, and that's obviously going to be bad. Another big one is extension ladders. They're great, they're wonderful, but you need to make sure they have secure footing. So if you have a house that's on the side of a hill, like most people in West Virginia, you want to make sure that both feet are level on the ground. And if you have one where the feet adjust, that's even better. Another big thing is 3 points of contact. So when you're climbing, 3 points of contact. So you have 2 hands, you have 2 feet. So you should have 2 hands and a foot, or 2 feet and a hand, because you have to climb upwards. Once you actually get to that elevation, you're fine to, use your hands. Let's head inside and talk to Mark about fire safety.
Fire safety is very important around the holidays. As you begin putting up your tree and your holiday lights and decorations, you need to be mindful of a few things. You should secure the tree so it doesn't get pulled over by animals or small children. It's important to not have low-hanging ornaments, because cats are attracted to motion, as well as dogs. You don't want your cat chewing through the lighting cords like we see in the holiday movie. Always remember these 3 tips. Water and inspect a live tree daily. Check all of your light strings. Any malfunctioning lights should be thrown away. And never leave a room with a live candle burning.
'Tis the season of giving, which also means it's the season of shopping and wrapping. Our next guests are going to talk to us about some environmentally sustainable ways you can buy this year's presents and wrap them.
Hi, I'm Sydney. I'm a communications specialist at WVU Extension.
And I'm Maddie, and I'm a graduate assistant at WVU Extension. And today we're going to be showing you guys some different ways that you can be more sustainable this holiday season.
So each holiday season in the US alone, around 4 million pounds of wrapping paper are produced, and about half of that ends up in a landfill. So we're going to offer you some more sustainable ways to wrap your gifts this year.
What we're going to start with first off is what you're actually giving as gifts. One thing that we both really love to do is Sydney and I love to go to the thrift store.
It's such a fun way to find unique gifts, and it also creates way less waste and is much more sustainable for the planet.
So we're going to show you some of our favorite things that we have thrifted that we think would be awesome gifts to give this holiday season.
So here you can see we have all of these things that we have actually gotten from the thrift store. One thing that you can always find is a jar. There are all different types. There are so many uses for a good mason jar, and you can always find them. Another great thing to get from the thrift store is artwork. I have 2 little matching cat prints. You can find any type.
I love those.
They're so funny. You can always find any different type of artwork that you could possibly want. And another thing that the thrift store is so great for is little boxes, like a little jewelry box or a little ring holder.
You can find old books that not only would be great on a coffee table, but sometimes they have some cool artwork on them. So I thought this old National Geographic was really cool. I also love thrifting big plates. So if you want to give cookies out this holiday season, you could actually give this whole thing and not even worry about having to get the plate back. And it's definitely a lot more sustainable than going out and buying plastic plates to put your cookies on. Definitely some ways to be more sustainable in your actual gift giving, and these are some of our options. So now that we've picked out our present, now it's time for us to wrap it. And if you are the person that wants to have something really similar to regular wrapping paper, but make a little bit more of a sustainable choice, craft paper is definitely the way to go for you.
One thing about craft paper is that it is really heavy duty, so it's not gonna rip on you like regular wrapping paper would. And it's also kind of trendy,
Yeah.
very cute. And it is 100% biodegradable, so it is miles better for the environment than regular wrapping paper.
We love that. If you're in the camp that you think that this is a little boring for your holiday wrapping, no worries, because later Sid and I are going to show you some ways that you can spice up this average looking butcher paper.
So another fun way to wrap your presents, but not with traditional wrapping paper, is something called furoshiki, which is a Japanese way to wrap gifts or anything in cloth. So you can see here that we have this little guy wrapped up already. You can use any kind of excess fabric you have, like that's it cut in a square, any kind of bandanas, scarves, and it is super quick and easy, and you can pick any print color you like. And we're gonna do a little example real quick. You'll just put out your square and you'll set your box kind of diagonal on it, so your thing is a rhombus rather than a rectangle. Then you're gonna fold it one way and just tie it in a knot. That's it. And then bring it the other way and tie it in a knot at the top. And then you're done.
How pretty is that?
And you can pull your things out to make them cute, or you can tuck them under so you can't see them. And then you have room to add decorations later on and spice it up a little bit. But it's just like a really quick, fun, easy way. And the fabric or scarf can be part of the gift as well.
Absolutely. I think I would be just as excited about getting the scarf as I would the rest of the gift. So that's really cool.
Definitely.
So maybe those other two options didn't really work for you and you want something quick and easy. These options might be things that you already have inside your house right now.
So the first thing is just a regular old jar. They are good for like little gifts, like you can put face masks, any kind of makeup, hair ties in there, and you don't even have to wrap them. Just toss them in there and they look nice and cute and festive, and you're done.
Something else that you might have in your house is paper shopping bags. So I had this one from a shopping trip. These are great.
Kind of on the same idea. You can use newspaper to wrap things as well. And it has a little bit more, like the shopping bags, they have a little charm to them, more than just plain craft paper.
Also, if you have any shipping boxes laying around your house, I know I definitely do, don't throw those away around the holiday season, because these are perfect boxes. Instead of going to the store and buying those boxes to put your gifts in, go ahead and use the ones that you already have.
And then at the very end, after you have them all wrapped, or if you don't feel like wrapping them, just pull out a nice old basket and arrange your little gifts in there, and it looks really cute on its own, wrapped or unwrapped. You can put a little twine around it and decorate it, and you're done. Now that we have figured out how to wrap our gifts, now it is time to move on to decorating. And one way to decorate your craft paper is you can take potatoes and make stamps out of them. And you can also use beets. That's not what we're gonna be using today, but if you do use beets, you don't even have to paint them. You can just use their own juices as the ink. So to make these potato stamps, you're gonna wanna cut your potato in half, and you can use a cookie cutter to get a more intricate shape, or you can just cut out with a knife, whatever kind of shape you want, into the potato that's cut in half. And then you're gonna wanna cut around the edges to cut off the excess, so you have a stamp part sticking out. And then you're just gonna dip that in the paint and then make your little prints on the paper.
Another way you can spice up some of your holiday packages is through alternatives to ribbons and bows. After a lot of fun, we wrapped up some gifts and we're really happy with them. I have a little wreath on mine.
I have some cinnamon and some pine tied on here with twine. And then on this little guy, we have some holly.
And this one is wrapped up with newspaper. This one is an old shopping bag. And then this is the butcher paper.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you have fun. And even adopting just one of these techniques helps have a much more sustainable holiday.
Happy holidays. Bye, thank you.
You ever find yourself looking at that knife block on the kitchen counter and thinking, what do I need all these for? Family and Community Development Agent Carrie Cart is here to show us what knives to use for which jobs, how to care for your knives, and how to use them so you don't hurt yourself.
Hello, my name is Carrie Cart and I work for WVU Extension Service in Kanawha County as the Family and Community Development Agent. The holidays are coming around, big family gatherings are happening, and a lot of people dread cooking. But one of the problems with dreading cooking is they don't like chopping everything. But I'm going to make that a little easier for you here today. First of all, you only need 3 knives in your kitchen. Everybody thinks you need all kinds of knives for certain things. You don't. You need a good bread knife. You need a good chef's knife and a good paring knife. Now the first thing that has to happen is these knives have to be sharp. If you have a dull knife, you are much more prone to cut yourself and it makes the work a lot harder. Sharp knife will slide through the food and make your job easier. Now there are lots of options for sharpening of knives. This is an electrical sharpener that you plug in. They're quite expensive, but they are very good. They can have an original first sharpen and then a second sharpen that does the fine honing of it. This is what professionals use. This is called a honing steel or a honing rod. And what they will do is they will take it and they will slide it down across the blade. And then they use whetstones. These are actual stones. They'll get them wet and they'll run the blade across. You can tell this one has been well used with all the marks on it. I will tell you, if you're going to go this method, you really need to know what you're doing because it can be very difficult, very challenging, and you can really hurt your blades. So for most of us at home, these aren't the options that we're going to use. What we're going to use is some kind of a home item. This is a very inexpensive knife sharpener that will work. This is a little bit step up that I use. I think this one's probably $5, $7. This one's probably a little closer to $25. This is way easy to use. All you do is you set it down on your countertop. You get a nice firm grip on it. This has a nice rubber botting that tracks it so it won't slide on you. And you have a coarse and you have a fine. So you take it, you start at the beginning and you slide it through, okay? A nice, even slide. Not a ton of pressure, just a little. Once you do that for several times, you run it through, usually about 20. You run it through the fine. You want to try not to jag it through because that will put divots in the edge of your blade and put nicks in it. You don't want to do it. These have been freshly sharpened. They're really nice and sharp. So let's talk about the 3 reasons we only need 3 knives. That's because they each have their own particular job. Obviously, a bread knife is just for that. Now you'll notice a bread knife is serrated, okay? Yes, it needs sharpened, but not nearly as often. Some people can go a year or 2 years without sharpening, depending on how much bread they cut. But if you do go to cut it, you can't use one of these commercial markets. You're gonna have to use a honing knife and go in between all the serrated dips to sharpen it. It is a lot of work, but it will make cutting your bread much easier. This is your kitchen staple, right here. This is your chef's knife. They come in 6, 8, and 10 inches. This one is an 8-inch. It's a fairly heavier weight. I like a heavier weight handled, but that's a personal preference. You can use really expensive knives if you want to invest in them. They are a long, long one. This is a little bit higher grade of a knife. I've been using it for probably 15 years. So it is a good investment. But if you don't have the funds to do that, your local retailer will have a decent knife that you can get. Just make sure you handle it, make sure you get a good grip on it in the store, make sure it's not too heavy or too light for you, and then make sure the blade is long enough for what you want. Like I said, this blade is a pretty common length of a blade that will get you through most of your heavy-duty work. And the last one that I have is a paring knife. This is a very inexpensive paring knife I bought locally at a retailer. I've also been using it for many years. You know, it's been sharpened a lot, but it still works great. This is for all your delicate work. So let's start with some examples of how we use these 3 different knives. Obviously, I'm going to start with the bread knife. I have a lovely loaf of bread here. A bread knife, you want to hold it nice firm handle. A bread knife you want to saw. So you're going to grab it and hold on to it, and you're going to saw the bread through. Now you can see I don't have hardly any crumbs on my counter. If you start getting a lot of crumbs on the counter when you cut or on your bread boards, then it is time to invest in a new knife. It should go through the bread easily without any trouble, okay? And you saw with it because it obviously it has the teeth that you can saw with. The next one is for chopping. Let's talk a little bit about cutting and safety while cutting. Most people think they're going to hold the food down and take the knife. Well, the problem with that is the fingers get in the way, right? So what we like to teach is a bear grip, a bear claw grip. Now what that means is we're not going to hold the food straight out. We're going to curl our fingers under and hold it this way. So I'm going to work with one at a time, curl it up underneath. The tip of the blade stays on the knife board at all times, so it never leaves the cutting board. The food is what moves along. So I'm going to cut off the end here and discard it, and then I'm going to simply move my food. You see how I'm rocking back and forth? The tip is never leaving the cutting board, and I'm feeding the food right through the center, and it makes nice even cuts. Very easy to cut through this carrot because it's very sharp. Another thing with a sharp knife is if you by chance do cut yourself, the cut will be way less severe than if it is a dull knife. A dull knife, when it cuts through your skin, rips and shreds the skin and makes it very painful and very difficult to heal. If you would by chance slice yourself with a sharp knife, it makes a clean cut, and surprisingly it doesn't hurt very much. But just remember, tip on the blade on the board, put your bear claw into place, and then cut. And the third one I'm going to show you is that paring knife for all of our delicate work. I have some beautiful fresh strawberries here, freshly washed of course, because I've washed all of my counter and everything beforehand and sanitized it all. So when you get into this delicate work, obviously you're not going to bear claw it, you're going to smash that strawberry. So you have to use your hands to hold things, hence one of the reasons why you want a smaller knife. It's easier to control and it is safer. So the first thing I'm going to do is obviously core it. A paring knife is nice and short at the bottom, and you can get in there and core with ease, especially if it's sharp, and it pops right out. Then you can take and hold your knife and you can slice right through those strawberries very easily. And I'll show you again, it's very easy to do. Take the tip in and twirl it right around. That way you don't lose too much of the strawberry. And slice it. You can slice them long ways also, it makes beautiful round rings. But you can see you have to hold it because you can't use that bear claw grip on it. You have to hold it right. And then your strawberries are all ready to go. Now, if you have children around over the holidays or anytime you have a family get together, a fun thing to do is to work with them and help them with knife skills. I have my friend Sadie here with me today. And Sadie's going to help demonstrate how that can happen. Now, it's really easy. All you need is some Play-Doh, some kind of dough that Sadie's going to pull out, and you can make your carrot. You want to make a carrot? Or they can make a piece of celery, they can make fruit, they can make anything they want. Craft it out of that Play-Doh and form it to the way they want. And what we're going to have Sadie use here is a plastic knife. So you know the kids won't get hurt, but they can still practice. Ahead of time, you're going to want to definitely show them that bear claw, and Sadie and I have been working on that. And of course, this is the fun part for children, but not only are you teaching knife skills, you're doing really critical fine motor development and muscle control and muscle development, which is really good, helps children with their writing skills, holding pencils, all of those types of things. So it's a good activity. And you can set them right at the kitchen table or right in your kitchen or dining room area, right with you. They can be working on your Play-Doh while you're preparing the meal. So she's got her carrot ready, and she's going to work on that bear claw, curling those fingers up and under. and putting this part of the finger on the carrot. Perfect. And then take the knife and start cutting down. Awesome. And she's going to keep on going. It's that simple. With all the kind of Play-Doh or some kind of dough you have, you can do any kind of fruits or vegetables that you want and keep practicing your knife skills.
When preparing a big family meal, there are a lot of things to keep in mind. Do I have enough plates? Do I have enough silverware? Do I have enough containers to haul off all the leftovers? One thing you might not think about, but is very important, is having a good thermometer.
As we cook at our homes and over the holidays, one really critical thing that you need to remember is cooking food to the proper internal temperatures. In order to do that, you need a good thermometer. Good thing is they're not hard to find and they're also very reasonable. There are two main types of thermometers you can buy. One is a bimetallic, and it simply has a dial on it, and the little needle just creeps up and down and measures the temperature. These are very inexpensive, very long-term. They're kind of the industry standard, if you will. Make sure when you put them in food, you put them past the dimple that's on it. So it's going to have to go at least to that point in your food to get a temperature. And then you're just going to leave it in your food for 15, 20 seconds, depending on how long it instructs you to do that, and you've got a temperature. Now, a handier, quicker way, and still fairly reasonably priced, is the digital thermometers. These you simply turn on, okay? They'll read in Fahrenheit and Celsius, and you only have to get the bottom point in, so you don't have to insert near as much of it. And it's an instant read, so as soon as you put your food into the food, it will automatically give you the right temperature. And of course, you want to make sure you've got the right temperatures for your internal foods. The website by the USDA tells you all of those. Chicken at 165, ground meats for 155. All of that is on the chart. You want to definitely be looking that up. Make sure you've got the correct internal temperatures and make sure you use your thermometer. And the last thing you need to know is that thermometers need to be tested. They don't always 100% are accurate. So what you want to do with either model can do it this way. You're going to fill a cup with ice and really cold water. You're going to take your thermometer and you're going to place it down in. The thermometer should register 32 degrees. If you have a bimetallic, you can take the little nut attachment that's on the end and place it in, and you can simply turn it until it does register for 32 degrees. Unfortunately, this is one of the drawbacks. The digital ones, you can't change them. If it's off by a degree or two, you can go ahead and use the thermometer and just add or subtract that degree or two. If it's anything more than a degree or two, then this needs to be replaced and you need a new thermometer. And that's all there is to know. Make sure you go to that USDA website and get the right temperatures for your food. Keep everybody safe. Have a good one.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of WVU Extension Today. I hope you and yours have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you next time.